Hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be about networking and IP cameras. I'm just going to show you quickly how to run multiple cameras with one cable, or you can run power through these cables to power your camera, so you just have to do one line. I prefer the network cables over the wireless. These are all wireless cameras, so as a backup it's always good to actually have a hard wire. Plus I run these to an extra DVR box, so having a network just gives you way better quality than networking because they always go out and stuff like that. So it's kind of cheaper just to run two cameras off the one cable or running with the power. So I'll show you both ways. Alright, so I'm just going to include a couple of pictures here so you don't have to watch the entire video, because I know that can be annoying watching a 20-minute video just to get to the point, kind of like how I'm babbling right now. So I've included a couple of pictures like I said. So you just have to follow these pictures to get things done. This is your Cat5e wire or whatever network cable you have with at least 4 pairs in it. And make sure your cameras are 100 MBs, which most likely they all are. I really doubt you're going to find a 1 or a 4K or an 8K camera that's actually going to take advantage of the 5E. And if you do, then this isn't going to work for you. So anyways, so for your camera 1, we're going to list that net 1, net 1. So just use the orange and green for this guy here. And for net 2, use blue and brown. And yeah. All right, the second picture here is just going to be showing you guys power over Ethernet. And basically you can buy cameras these days that already have it included. So if you want to run your entire system on it, this is just showing you guys that you can just make it yourself. And this way you don't have to get the routers and the hubs and everything that have PoE capable or whatever like that. So it's just simpler this way. So again, we're going to use orange and green for net 1. This time we're going to cut the end off your DC adapter. So you save that end that you cut and you grab the positive and the negative wire and you attach the positive to the blue, the negative, and then you do the same thing on the AC side, which is DC side. So don't go AC through this. Anyways, again, it's plus for blue and negative is brown. So you can run 5 volts to 12 volts. Most of the security cameras I show in the video here, they almost all run, like say the 5 volt USB ones, they'll max out about 1 amp, usually 5 volts at 1 amp. And at 12 volts, it's usually, I show in the video, about 500 milliamps is the max usually. So it did spike once to 600 milliamps, but still you're way, way below what you need. So technically you can run 2 cameras with the 12 volts if you really wanted to. And you can also just use 1 wire out of each of these. And you could technically run a 5 volt line and a 12 volt line if you want to be brave. But personally, I would just stick with this or whatever. Also here, you can buy the adapters that split Cat5e. This video is just going to show you how to make your own, which this picture does. So now I'll get back into the video. Alright, so you can skip this part if you want. I'm just going to be drawing it out after, and I'll probably show a good picture of it after, or I'll include one in my description. So if your 2 cameras are about 4 feet apart or whatever, you'll want to skin back your wire 4 feet. So I'm just going to be using a small piece just as an example to showing you how it's done. So I've already skinned it here, so you just want to carefully go back and forth until the wire's off. Then separate your pairs. So there's 4 pairs of 2, obviously, because it's a pair. And the wires we're going to want here for the first one, we'll say, is orange and green are always going to be together if you're going to follow my scheme. And then blue and brown will be its own. Alright? So the way it gets wired, here's your ends here. If you're confused which way, everybody always says just keep the clip at the bottom, and that's the best way to think about it. So the clip here is always facing to the bottom, and the open end is always facing towards you. So it's always like this when you're going to be doing both ends. Just hopefully I can draw this. I'm a very bad drawer. So we need 8 of them. Right. So we can get the X's out of the way the first. So the ones we don't need are the last 2. And then count 3. So it'd be 1, 2, 3. And then the 4th and the 5th we don't need. So we only need this one. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we only need 1, 2, 3, and 6 for this. All right, so our number one is going to be white orange, and I'll always represent white as a W. So white orange. Number two is going to be orange. Number three is white green. And number six will be green. All right, so that's those two wires of the way. So again, we need 8. Again, get the ones we don't need out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And we don't need 4 and 5. All right, it's good. So if you would draw this out too, or use my scheme and always do it the same, this way you won't ever get confused. So always make sure you do the one end this way and the other end that way, or the way I'm going to show you. So the first one we're going to make white blue. Second one will be blue. The third one is white brown. And the sixth one will be brown. All right, so if this is all you're really curious about is having 2 network cables, you can technically just stop watching the video now if you want. The next part of it, I'll just show you how to run your power over the wires, but it's pretty basic as well. But I'll just do this with you. Or at least try to do it with you. So separate these two. So you'll only want to separate one of the sides, and usually I'll always stick with the orange side. So, because it depends how far you want to run these, because you'll also probably want to heat shrink this too. But this is the shortest of the run you'll probably want to do. Then from your camera or whatever, or wherever it is, these wires are going to now run to your second camera. So here it's good to obviously straighten them out, but we'll want 2 pieces of wire. So we're going to save 2 of them. Just makes it a little bit easier adding it. So we want orange, or white orange, orange, white green, and then skip 2, and then green. So cut them to length. Might take you a couple of tries to get this part right, so always make sure you run a little bit extra. I could probably go even smaller than this. Go about here. This is still too long, but I'm just going to show you, so I'm not constantly fighting with it. So again, it's white orange, white green, then we got to skip 2. So this is the hard part, is making sure you skip 2. So what you can do is take one of your extra wires, make sure it's the same color. Well, it doesn't have to be. And kind of make a key so you can skip 2 spots. It'd be preferable if it's a different color, because this way you can actually see inside of it that it's not all greens. All right, so you take your key, you put it between these 2 here. So like I said, it'd be best to use a blue one on this side. But I'm just showing you anyways. So when you're going to put it in, you're going to want to make sure you push to the left. So again, clip down, pins like this, and you want to push to the left when you're putting it in. This guy's kind of bending out a certain way here, so I want to straighten him up. So again, this is kind of long, but that's fine. So you can, while pushing, you're going to have to take out the key or the spacer. And then confirm you got 2 spots. So after that's done, you can crimp it. Then do the same thing for the other side. And I'll just fast forward that part because it's the same thing. Right. So we got one end done. Now you can test it if you have a tester. So we're going to be looking for 1, 2, I believe 3, 6. So there you go, it's perfect. 1, 2, and 3, 6 are blinking, so that means we wired it right. Now we can move to the next one. So on one end of your cable, obviously you don't have to run it super long because they're both going to be probably plugging into like a little hub or something like that. So these two should be perfect for that. All right, so the next ones now. This is where you're going to want to use some heat shrink. And you don't want to untwist all the way down. You just want to untwist, say, about here. After you remove this, if you didn't slice it all the way down, you can reuse this for the shield. So we want to go about here. Or just use some heat shrink. Well, at the bad end. Or you can just use some heat shrink like this and cover the wires after. As long as you didn't make a slit down it. So I probably shouldn't have twisted it, but these should go back in really easy. So what you could do too, before you pinch this side down, you can pinch another cable beside it. Like that. So it's just a little bit better. See if I can get that in there. There you go. So that's pretty good like that. Again, yours is going to be a lot longer than this. So we're going to follow this scheme here. So we're always going to do blue, light blue, blue, light brown, and brown. All right. Again, I'm not doing this proper. There's going to be some length here. You want to cut it as short as possible to make sure this goes in, but you probably already know that. Put my key. I keep calling it a key. It's actually a spacer. I really don't use this. I'm just showing you guys. It might be easier with the spacer, but it might be just more of a pain in the butt as well. It's up to you. And it's the same thing, clip down. You're going to the left side here. Okay. If you have really good eyes, you can literally just look and count 2 spaces. So this might be just more trouble than it's worth using a spacer. But again, I just thought I would show you. And again, same on the other side. Again, I'll just come back with it done. All right, so now we can just test the last wires here. Then we're going to be testing the blue. And again, we're looking for the same thing. 1, 2, and 3, and 6. Turn it on. And I'm an idiot. I plugged in the wrong one. So we'll try that again. All right. Okay, there you go. So we got 1, 2, and 3, and 6. So it's all perfect. So now, in the real world, if this was your router or a hub, whichever or, you plug these two in. And then outside, one would go there, and the other one goes here like that. Alright, so that's it. That's how easy it is to get two cameras running off one network cable. They're both 100 megabits. These cameras run about 2 megabits to 3 megabits, so 100 megabits is like way more than enough than you actually need for these guys. So the next part of the video, I'm just going to show you how to run the power, and that's actually really easy. So it's the same thing. You'll want to do one end with the orange like this, but instead with the brown and the blue, that's now going to become your power wires. So we'll just cut this guy off. Cut this guy off. Alright, so here's the power box it came with. It's 12 volts and 2 amps. So for the 5 volt ones, you can actually run 5 volts to it, and what you can do is power your hub as well with 5 volts, because this guy only takes like 100 milliamps. But it's up to you. I don't know what your scheme is, but we'll pretend it's a 12 volt camera. So just run 12 volts. So find your cable, cut it. You want the 2 wires. The next part of the video, I'm just going to show you the real life amperage. That's why it's already like this, because I was testing the amps with it. So you're going to want to cut this somewhere nice, better than that, and strip it. This part is important. You'll definitely want to heat shrink this, but for this video, I'm just going to show you, and solder it. So soldering and heat shrinking is probably the best thing you can do. But if you can't solder, you can definitely just twist. So again, the black one, this is, again, the black one's going to be your ground. But let's say you have no color coding. Always want to do a continuity test. So just make sure the center is positive. Put that guy there, and then test. So yes, the middle is positive. So you're going to have to do that if your wires are not coated. And then same with the other end. So again, if you have cables like this where it's just 2 separate wires and there's no like marking on here for the ground wire or whatever it is, what I usually do is on the positive wire. So say if these two are both are black, always make a knot like this in your red wire or in your positive wire. This way you know across all your projects, you always know which one is the positive wire. I've been doing that since I was about 8 years old, and I can go way back on things I found way back then and still have my wires twist like that. It's really handy. Okay, so I'm not going to solder. I'm just going to do a quick twist just to show you, because it's pretty basic here. So I'm just going to shove it between these two guys here. Twist it. Ideally, you want to use heat shrink like I said. And then blue and white is always going to be your positive. So for testing reasons outside, you will be able to rip these off as well. Alright, so that's one side. And then the same thing for this side. But anyways, that's it for the video basically. I'm just going to show you this plugged in. Alright, so I'll just show you this now. So this now would just plug into your camera. We'll plug this guy into this box. That was kind of dumb of me. This guy gets plugged into the camera. Right. And then this gets plugged into the outlet now. Actually, instead of the camera, I'll just show you with this instead. This way you can see. Okay. So that's a cheap way of doing PoE yourself without having to buy the special cameras or anything that actually support it, or the network hubs and all that stuff. As long as you're dealing with 100 megabits.
System starting up. Connecting. Please wait.
Unplug that. So as long as you're running 100 megabits or whatever, everything should be fine with this setup. Right, so I'll just show you a little bit of the camera with how much amps it actually takes so you can feel a little bit more safe doing it this way. Alright, so here's one of my 12 volt cameras. It has motion detection on and everything like that. I can also make another video because I actually hacked it. So this guy actually does the motion tracking. But that's another video. So I'm just going to show you guys under full load with this camera and how much amps it actually takes. So again, it's 12 volts. So to get your watch, just times the two. Let's give it a second to boot up. So it's running the network cable
System starting up.
and Wi-Fi at the same time, just to show, because it can do both. Hopefully the light doesn't come on and blind us. Alright, so during the day, it's going to run about 150 milliamps. That's color or black and white, actually. And then if you have the IR lights on, I'm not going to do just the IR lights. I'm going to do both. So worst case scenario. So with the IR light on, it's going to run about 300 milliamps. But with both of them, see if I can get it to do it. There you go. There's the white light there. And the IR lights are on as well. So, and that's running at 3,700 milliamps. And it just spiked up to 600 milliamps. So it's safe to say that's the highest I've actually seen on this one at 12 volts is 600. On the 5 volts versions, the little ones, like this guy here, if I can get this in camera, these little guys, baby monitors here, they run at 5 volts, but I've seen it up to about 1 amp. But still, you're under wattage for the cable anyways. So it's up to you guys to Google the how much amps and stuff and current a 1 gauge 24 AWG cable can actually handle and stuff. You're going to get a lot of different people saying different things. I just kind of like my alternative facts and it works. So I've run 100 feet with running 12 volts at 1 amp, no problem, for at least 15 years. So it's really up to you guys. But however, if your house burns down, blame, I don't know, Sarah Palin or something. Guys, that's it for the video. Hopefully it helps somebody out that just wants to run one cable instead of having to run two 100 feet or 200 feet length of Cat5e cable. You can just run the one to support 2 cameras. Alright guys, that's it. Like and subscribe please, and that's all.